go to question and answer session, so feel free to throw any question you feel.
This is where it gets dangerous.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? But
go on, let's go on.
Have you thought much about the different comedy coming out of different nations? I mean, for a good spitting image have been written in, say, Russia or France.
Well, a couple of things there. Somebody once said, it's an old joke, but let me do it anyway. Where would we be without a sense of humour? Germany. It's not true. It's not true. The Germans have a sense of humour the same as everybody else. What we have in this country as a tradition of, it's mentioned in Shakespeare, in King Lear, the all-licensed fool. We allow certain people, certain groups to attack up. The Germans don't have that tradition. They just have never had that tradition. And we have. I went to Montreux. I'll give you an example of a German joke. And it's a very funny joke, actually. I went to Montreux, which is the comedy festival, light entertainment TV festival. And I sat and watched a half-hour programme of German comedy. And it's difficult to describe, but basically what happened was there was a guy in a waiting room. I'll use my thing here. And there was a load of photographs behind him. And one of them was just slightly out. So he looked at it and he put it back. But by putting it back, that had caused a sort of ripple or a tension, and that had knocked the other one out. So that was now like that. So then he put that, and that suddenly then were two here that, by the tension to be knocked. And I chatted to somebody, and he said, "Well, that's so German, because the German like things in order." That joke wouldn't work for us because we don't have that way of thinking, but the Germans said, and they found it hilarious. It's not about the fact that they love order in an unpleasant way. It's just the fact that's part of the national character, and it's not quite part of our character. And I think they find aspects. I'll give you an example of Italian. We love language. And a friend of mine who was an expert in Oscar Wilde, he saw the importance of being earnest in Italian in Rome. And he said to me, "Oh, Stephen, it was awful. Oh, it was so awful." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, there's a line in the original Oscar Wilde, which is Gwendolen, or Cecil, I can't remember which one. You may omit the chapter on the fall of the rupee. It is a trifle too scandalous." And what's translated into literal Italian is, "Don't read that bit." Oscar Wilde was about the wonderful epigrammatic language, and that's very, very British. The Italians, he was wonderful. He said, and he was very perceptive about the nature of the Italian personality versus the British personality. He said and he lived in Italy, got to know them very well. He said a British person can say one thing, it will mean 10 things. Italians will say one thing 10 times. So that's, isn't it wonderful having racial jokes here? I hope I'm not going to be banned for that. Go on, there was a gentleman there, and I'll come to you saying.
What is it about imitating a person's voice or an accent that makes people laugh almost automatically?
I think that goes back to, again, when we're kids. Because how do you don't talk to children in the way that you talk with other people. You go, "Hello!" Hello. You work on extremes, don't you? You work on, "Hello, how are you?" And children laugh at the extremity of the voices. So one of the problems with doing impressions is that you've got to find those voices that are slightly odd. I'll give you one, because we always impressionists are always look out for odd sounding voices. One of the strangest on the planet belongs to Anne Widdecombe. Anne Widdecombe, God, she's got a very odd voice. If you listen to Anne Widdecombe, it's always breaking up. To me, she sounds like a mobile phone with bad reception. What can I say to you? And she has a roar. And I met her, and I did her for her. And she got really sheepish, actually. And she said, "You want me very well." And I said, "You know the key to your voice, Anne, is you have 2 notes in your voice." Oh, she said, "Yes, I have." And I said, "Do you know who else has that 2 notes happening at the same time?" I said, "Homer Simpson." "Homer Simpson, here's a sheep." And it's interesting now, isn't it? Because frankly, it's part of my act, is what I've just done. But what you have there, and in a practical terms, I wanted to find a sound, and this is what I was talking about, looking for alternate understandings of when you hear something. So I listened to Anne Widdecombe. I thought, what does she sound like? What does she sound like? She sounds like a mobile phone with bad reception. So when you start doing you think, oh God, she does. You know, you get that recognition, and you get the biformity of the 2 things happening at the same time. So, you know, that's where the practicality of the theory comes in.